Hello to everyone at SunGard. Thank you for watching this. My name is Rick Lanciotti, and I'm the Campus Technology Trainer here at PNCA. And I just kind of made this video to kind of show you what I see very often when students who are new to this process are trying to register for classes. So here's the home screen that you would get after you've logged in, and usually students would go to search, which makes sense. And then they're greeted by this big white box here, this big white blank page basically. And this is not what students are expecting. If we go and look at these students who've pretty much lived and grown up on the internet, what they're expecting when they're searching for something is this, a big search box that allows them to search for what they're looking for. A lot of times you guys, when you were selling this to us, you compared self-service to online purchasing. So if we look at the biggest online store in the world, Amazon, you can see that you also have this one search for box in a go. Here, they don't. Here, they just get this little bit of text. And then eventually they do come over and they will see these two options right here, these two options for searching. There's also the course, the search bar up here, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So another place where I see students really run into a lot of problems is the naming of these two links, course catalog and section search. Actually, a few months ago, I sent out an email to you guys kind of detailing some complaints that I'd seen students talk about on one of our online blogs. And in your response, we had one of your consultants explain here that it was mainly user error and that they didn't understand the difference between course catalog right there and course selection. And then she went so far as to explain what those meant in parentheses. So my big question is, why? Why does she need to explain what these two things are in parentheses? Why doesn't it just explain it up there? We've got a lot of space here. So course catalog, and she explains that that's basically everything that's offered by the college. And then we have section search, which is basically everything that's offered this term. Why doesn't it just say search all subjects offered by the college or search classes offered this or next term? And the other problem that we run into is that course catalog, we get to this and you're expecting, like I've said before, with things like Google, you're expecting this one search bar, and we don't get that. We get these things. And let's say that they're looking for a class that I know is in the catalog right now. There's a video class offered by Stephen Slappy. So let's say that the student wants a class offered by Slappy, and it's a video class, so they're going to type in video. We get no results. I know that that class is in there. Why is it that there are no results available? If I look for something that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, I might not get any results, but I get something that is as close as possible. And then if I look up the word video, it does its best to find videos that are close to that, as opposed to just throwing up this big thing that says it can't find it. There are videos. There is no such thing as hot, these two things in an S, but there are videos. So why is it that I don't at least get a list of video classes? Why is it that I actually have to just do a search for video to get that answer? If we do that, then we can see that then we can go and find our course selections, which once again, the location of this right here is way too far off for the students. It needs to be further over here, maybe even before the course section itself. So it's the first thing that they see. They never see this. It's just kind of invisible to them. So honestly, what they're usually looking for is this section search. And like I said, they're going to go to course catalog first because we read from left to right. So this is the first option. I don't know why it is, because this is where people get most confused. Section search, or whatever it's called, which should actually be a much longer, more descriptive term, should be the first option. Up here, it's also the first option. The only reason I can think about that is because it's coded to show you things alphabetically first. That's not the way people think. They think that they read from left to right. Section search should be first. So we have our keywords down here. We can look for video and Slappy here, and we get what we're looking for. The problem is, why do we have this second thing that says course code? Why can't they just put the course code in as a keyword? That's the way it's done in Google. That's the way it's done in Amazon. Why in either of these do we have these additional things that cause a lot of confusion? I understand that this probably, um, it's thought by you guys, or if it's thought by even your customers, that this actually helps things and helps clarify things because they can then search for department or credit type or whatever. But let's say that I use, Amazon here, and I look for shirt. I get my answer first of the most relevant things, which for the students is going to be the classes that are available next term. And then I can refine it over here if I want men's shirts or whatever from the sidebar. All of this stuff can come in after you do your first search here. Here's another problem that we have. Like I said, they're going to expect to have just this one search bar. So if they look for video and then Slappy, and then an 8 o'clock class, which I know that there is one offered, suddenly it doesn't just give us the classes taught by Stephen Slappy that are video. It doesn't give us anything at all because that additional search term of 8 a.m. is not within the search parameters. This is not what people expect when they do a search for something. It should at least give them all, if there is a term and there is a class that's taught by, if there's not a class that's taught by Stephen Slappy at 8 a.m., it should still give you all the video classes taught by Stephen Slappy. And then they can choose whether or not they want those. Because that's what they're looking for. Give them what they're looking for, video classes by Stephen Slappy. If there isn't an 8 a.m. class, that's fine. They're still looking for video classes by Stephen Slappy. So give them that. Why are you, kind of just making your results not available at that point in time? So once they kind of go through and find all their classes, another thing that is a big problem is the checkout phase, the phase where they actually want to submit their schedule. So I'm going to actually increase this all the way. So I'm just going to choose this shirt, add that to my cart, and then I've got to select my size and my color. And I'm going to add that to my cart. Once that's done, I'm going to proceed to checkout. Now when I do that, I get this map here that shows me what other steps I have to go through before for Amazon, my purchase, but for you guys, the registration is complete. This is something that is very common in all online retailers. This is something that you don't have, and this is something that causes a lot of problems for students. What you guys have is a button that just says next, and it just continues to say next until they've actually placed their order. This causes two major problems for us. One is that we have had many students that get to the second to last step. It looks like they're done, so they assume that they're done, and they close up the window. And then a few months later, they find out that they haven't registered for classes that are necessary for them to graduate next term. This has happened multiple times. The other big problem we have is because you just have this one button that says next over in the corner, most people are used to the word submit when you're actually going to submit a product, when you're going to submit an order or place an order, or you're going to submit a registration. You just have a next button, and then so suddenly they think that maybe they can back out of it, and suddenly they've submitted their entire registration. That's not as big a deal as the people who don't get their classes, but it is a large problem. There are a bunch of other things that I've had students run into with the UI, for instance, dropping classes, adding classes, and all of those things. There are a lot of things that they're running into. All of these problems that I have to deal with students who are very frustrated because the main reason that they're coming here is to take classes, and your product causes a lot of confusion for students, so they sometimes don't get a chance to register, or it's very difficult for them to register. One of the things I would think you guys would benefit from greatly is to go to a local high school who do not use your systems. Find people who've never used your systems before. Find some 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds. Sit them down. Tell them that they need to register for a certain class by a certain instructor that you know is in your sample database, and don't tell them anything else, and see what they do. See where they click. See where they get confused. I imagine it's going to be very similar to the things that I've shown you. I don't completely blame you guys. I think you guys have just used this so much that it makes complete sense to you. But I'm telling you from my own experience, it does not make sense to a large percentage of 18-year-olds. and 19-year-olds and 21 and 22-year-olds. Thank you for watching. I've offered before and I will offer again. If you guys have any questions or would like to talk about this further, please get in touch with me. I want this system to work as well as it can for our students. So please get in contact with me. My email address is right there. I'd love to talk with you in person, or we can do it via screencast or whatever. Thank you for your time.